So thanks for joining. Sorry in advance. I woke up without a voice today. Uh, have a bit of a cold. Uh, hopefully, you can hear me okay, despite that. So we are going to talk about how you can get mentioned by AI chatbots today. End of May 2026, things keep changing, and we're totally on it and tracking and trying different things, and we have a playbook that's been working very well. So you're going to learn how to actually get mentioned by AI. So let's get started. So essentially, we just a real quick word about Spotlight. We started in January last year, so it's been almost a year and a half now, um, where we've been experimenting, working with hundreds of brands of all sizes, some like Fortune 100 companies like Samsung and Nestlé, some startups, some local businesses. It's really all across the board, and trying different things and figuring out what actually is working on the models. How do we actually impact them? And we have some really good insights based on a lot of research and data and experimentation. And I'm going to share everything with you today. So essentially, I'm going to start with some stats, high level stats. You hear me okay? Is my voice okay? I'm going to take another sip of caffeine, hopefully help my voice. Sorry. Okay. So essentially, high level stats on where we're at today. Today we have, you can say between 4 to 5 billion monthly users using AI, mostly thanks to or because of Google AI overviews. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But essentially, the world is there. The world is on AI, and the conversion from AI traffic is way larger than regular organic traffic. And people really that are not everybody's on AI if they want to or if they don't because of Google today. And let's kind of touch on that. So today, if you want to optimize for 1, 2 models, 3 models, the top ones you want to look at really are Google AI Overview. Well, that's by far the number one model. Reason being, Google has about 5 to 6 billion active monthly users, and about half of those queries bring up actual AI overview responses. So when people they see the AI overview response and they don't click. We'll see the stats on that in a moment. But so AI overview, I mean, whether people are actively on an AI chatbot like ChatGPT or Perplexity or not, I mean, if they're on Google, they're actually seeing an AI response. So you want to make sure you're on that AI response. Meta is number 2 with 1.2 billion users. I graded out because Meta really is not kind of like a go-to. It's not a tool people go to search to look for products much, and it's mostly they have users because it's just they have AI integrated inside their platforms in certain countries, U.S., some in Europe. It's not rolled out in all the world. So Meta is huge, but it's not really something we're looking to optimize for. Google AI mode is also huge, and I mean, it seems like they're rolling it out more and more, as you can probably see with your experience with Google. I mean, they keep adding more and more levels where you can now interact with Google AI Overview, and they get a response from AI mode. So AI mode is becoming more and more prominent. Might replace one day. I mean, the blue links. Kind of seems like that's where they're going, but we don't know. And then we have Gemini, again, another Google player, 900 million users. So Google's really dominating the market today. Then we have ChatGPT, which is close to 1 billion monthly users, also very strong. All the rest of the players are much smaller. 100 million Perplexity is not bad, but it's not the same size as other players. We have Grok and all the other players. I mean, they're much smaller. So really, you want to focus on the Google suite of models and ChatGPT. Those are our main focus. While Google, you might say that, hey, Google is all Google. Isn't it the same? So it is not the same. We actually ran many experiments on this, and Google AI Overviews, AI Mode, and Gemini, they're all based on the Gemini family of models, but they yield different results. They have different instructions. They work a little bit differently. And we actually ran the same prompt. I have an article on this. We ran the same prompt on all 3. And we saw that the responses were different. The brands that were mentioned were different. and the citations came from different places. So they have different instructions yielding different responses. So we do want to look at them separately, although they're all based on Gemini family of models. So who's using AI search? I mean, kind of largely everybody, but the younger folks are really like the earlier adopters of this. And when I say AI search, I mean like specifically going on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Grok, all of those. Google, again, people are seeing Google, everybody's seeing the Google responses. It's rolled out to, I think it's about 150 countries today. I think AI overviews, I think it's rolled out to the majority of the users of the world. People interact, I mean, they stay on AI for a long time. They convert very well. And I touched on that earlier. I'll see a number on that. I think over here. Yeah, the conversion. So when people traditionally would visit a website from arriving from Google search, they would traditionally the conversion from traffic, organic traffic, would be roughly 0.5%, give or take. And people also would bounce after seconds. On average, you'd have like a bounce like within seconds. When traffic comes from AI, and I don't mean directly from AI, I don't mean somebody going to ChatGPT asking, what's the best, fastest, cleanest car, or eco-friendly car under $20,000. I mean, when he reads a brand there, he doesn't click the citation. He reads the name of the brand, then he goes to Google, and then he goes with the conviction that this is right for him, and he's there to buy. Car specific example is not a good example, but he's looking for sunglasses brand, for example. He's there. He has conviction to buy. So people who read a recommendation from ChatGPT and they go and to that brand, they will convert. But there's about 16% conversion rate, which is incredible. Perplexity 10%. So I mean, the conversion rate after getting input from AI is huge, because people are not going to be they're not shopping around anymore. They gave all their information, their whole brief, to the chatbot, and now the chatbot came with a response, and they trust that response, and then go out and they're going to buy. So that's huge. Another really important stat, also recent stat, is the fact that since now Google is showing AI overviews, ever since, I mean, now people are not scrolling down to click any of the links. They're not even scrolling down. They're just looking at the AI overview. And so 83% of the time, when people get an AI overview response, they're not going to click anything. And that, again, this is just showing us that there's a huge shift. That, I mean, the search as we know it is no longer the same. And so if we're not on AI, then we're going to have a serious problem. We've got to be on AI. Now, here's some fun stats about where do the models go today to get their information. Are there any questions? I see a raise hand, or maybe I'm just this may be a previous question. Okay. If there's any questions, you can feel free to stop me. This is happy to answer anything. This is for you guys. So in terms of where do the models get their information from, and this is kind of like just like a general idea, but really it depends on the brand, and we'll show an example soon on a certain brand and where the models get their information from. But generally, when we look kind of like across the board, different industries, different countries, kind of different topics, then generally this is what we're seeing. This is as of this morning. I pulled this data this morning from our database. We have a huge database with tens of millions of citations and that we collect monthly. So this is based on the data that we have. Overview is highly reliant on YouTube videos, and 5% almost of all the citations that were the basis of the response on AI Overview come from YouTube videos. That's huge. Same goes for Perplexity and for Grok. They're all getting their information. The top place source is from YouTube. Gemini and AI mode are also high up on their lists. ChatGPT, not so much. But YouTube is a huge player that we are currently now also learning how to optimize and kind of and win on that front. And we have some insight on how that works. I'll share that with you when we talk about actions. Reddit is also a big player. It used to be a much larger player, but it became less of a larger player in September last year. It kind of went down from 40% to 0.5% on ChatGPT in terms of the amount of citations. But now it's back up this month. It's almost 10%, which is amazing on ChatGPT. So Reddit is still a big player. Reddit is difficult, kind of like in terms of actions to be able to impact Reddit. It's a bit tricky. We'll talk about that later. And then we have Wikipedia. We have LinkedIn is also a large player. LinkedIn actually was much bigger last month for ChatGPT. Interestingly, it kind of became smaller, but LinkedIn is quite a source that I look out for, because LinkedIn, the articles, and specifically the articles on LinkedIn pulses, the articles. When somebody writes an article on LinkedIn, that's publicly available, and that article is associated with the person who wrote it. And so the models can see who wrote the article and what his history is, what his credibility is. So then they know, I mean, this is a kind of trustworthy source. So I would definitely look at LinkedIn in terms of getting a lot of content out there, writing content on LinkedIn as LinkedIn articles. Then you see Facebook and all kinds of other players. But this really is this is a kind of cross, kind of like a domain or vertical data set. And you really want to see what your own brand and what your own country, where the models are getting their information for your own brand. And I'll show you how we do that in just in a few moments. So another question that's interesting is when people ask about a certain brand. So for example, if I ask about, how eco-friendly are Toyota cars, where do the models go? Do they go and ask Toyota.com? Or do they go check like forums and around the web and other places? Where do they get the information about a certain brand when there's official data out there? So what's interesting is that the Google suite or the Google models, they go to the brand himself and ask them, hey, are you eco-friendly? But they reach data sources from the brand itself. But then we have these other players like Perplexity, Claude, that they go out and lean more on like third party, on forums or on third party websites, not from the actual brand. So that's kind of interesting. And we'll talk about like brand perception and reputation quite a bit. All right. So now let's back up. We have these kind of stats, fresh stats for May 2026. Let's talk about how do AI chatbots work. We have to understand how they work in order to be able to win them and become the response and become the response in the way we want. So let's do a crash course to AI search. So what happens when somebody runs a prompt? You go on ChatGPT or any other model, they're all pretty much the same. You go on ChatGPT and you ask, what are the best noise canceling headphones under $50? ChatGPT goes out and searches the web. It does this when it doesn't have the answer within its training set, which is about 60% of the time. 60% of the prompts, it goes out and searches the web. Perplexity goes and searches the web for every prompt. That's how Perplexity specifically is different. And also AMO does that. ChatGPT chooses when to search the web. And then it goes out and searches for information to collect up-to-date, fresh, recent information to answer this prompt. And what it does behind the scenes, it actually takes that prompt and breaks it up into queries, into search keywords. And this is a real example of search keywords that ChatGPT broke my prompt into. And then it runs these search queries on Google specifically. It used to be Bing. ChatGPT now works more on Google. And it runs it from locally, from Google, from the user's country, because you get different results in different countries. So it ran it locally from my own country. And this is called query fan out. In case you heard that term, query fan out means that the AI chatbot takes a prompt and just breaks it into search queries. That's what it means. And so it goes out and creates these search queries. And then it runs these queries on Google. And it gets responses for each one of these queries. And it doesn't actually see this interface. It gets the data from the API, Google's API. But this is just to kind of to visualize it. It runs the query. It looks at the results. It looks at the top 30 results, and not the first page like the humans do. It looks at the top 20 to 30 results, and then it considers. It looks at 4 factors on each one of these results. It looks at the title, the domain, the date when it was last updated, and a snippet, a little summary of what's inside that piece of content. And then based on those 4 factors, it'll then decide into which of these it wants to click and fully read out to actually use as a citation. it doesn't actually fully read out. It reads the beginning. It allocates a number of tokens to read the beginning of the page, and then to understand what's in it, and it'll then cite it, and then those pages become the citations. Now, the citations, I know every bot, every AI model has a different number of citations. Would cite a different number of websites, and this is fresh data from today, from May. Grok on average cites 38 pages. Crazy. ChatGPT 20. This is up from 8 2 months ago. It was 25 3 months ago. So they're playing with a number of citations. They're playing with it. Everybody's constantly playing with their kind of like how they're operating. And you can see how many citations on average every AI chatbot kind of shows up. Now, so ChatGPT on average runs 2 web searches. It takes that prompt, breaks it into the queries, and runs these 2 searches on Google. And that means that ChatGPT actually considers about 40 search results. And we just saw that it cites on average 20 of them. That means that if you have content that's optimized for their search query, you have a 50% chance of getting cited. If you're in the top 30 responses to their search query, you have a 50% of getting cited. That's huge. Way easier than SEO. Why? Because in SEO, you're optimizing to get on the first page, even the top 5 results. GEO, or at least our approach here, is we just want to get picked up by the model. So we want to optimize for this weird long, kind of like a long tail, kind of like a keyword that the model uses. Not long tail necessarily, but it's a keyword that's not human. And I'll show you examples of them soon. But we're optimizing for a keyword the model wrote, and we want to be in the top 30 results. It's really easy to be in the top 30 results where you're optimizing for a kind of like a weird keyword. So what you need to know what these keywords are, what the search terms are that the models are using. One, and then you want to get selected by the model. You want to be, you want to show up here list, and then you want the model to choose you among the list of the 30 results that they consider. So you ask, okay, so how do I know, what are the fan out queries? How do I know how do the models search the web? So we wrote an extension for this. It's a free Chrome extension we use for research. It's called the ChatGPT Query Fan Out Inspector. You just install it, and then you just run a search on ChatGPT, and then it shows you exactly what the queries were. How does this work? This data is actually in the communication between ChatGPT server to the client. It's hidden somewhere in a JSON somewhere. So our extension just goes and pulls it out and puts it on an interface that you can then export it, or you can learn from it. So those are the queries. So and then the second piece you want to do, you want to actually figure out, so first of all, what are the search queries? But then you also, you want to make sure that you're going to be the one that gets picked from all these search results. So for that, what we do, we just reverse engineer what is being picked. So what we do, we take all the citations from responses, and then we reverse engineer every element we can think about. So we look at the title and the summary and the keywords, and what's the tone of voice, what's the website type. We look to see, what's the how many words, letters. I mean, is it niche? When was it created? Does it have any opinions? How many paragraphs? Does it have an FAQ section? We kind of look at every parameter, every feature you could think about. The hierarchy of the content. What's the schema types? What kind of links? We look at everything possibly to understand, to try to reverse engineer and understand why those specific websites were cited by the models. And then we went out and built a tool that creates content based on the profile of the most cited websites. And this is something in theory that you could do also on your own. Just take the websites and reverse engineer them, analyze them, try to find out why they got cited. Now, being cited doesn't mean that you're necessarily mentioned. And let's kind of like talk about that for a second. You can be cited here by ChatGPT or any model, but then the brand isn't necessarily mentioned in the response. So if you're not cited at all, there's no chance to get mentioned. If you are cited, you have a chance of being mentioned. When will you be mentioned? if the model thinks that, there's a relevancy, if that you bring some kind of data, there are ways to kind of, you want to be mention worthy, not only site worthy. So that's like the second phase. So in order to get mentioned, you got to get cited. Either your content has to be cited or somebody else's content that mentions you. It has to be content that mentions you that gets cited. And then you want the content to have something kind of like mention worthy. So that's like the second part. So then, now we have, okay, this flows. We now have this understanding that, okay, we have a user prompt. We find out what are the queries that the models use in order to search for data. And we understand that we should analyze the citations to understand why they were selected. And then we can create precise content that's optimized for these queries and has a profile of the other citations that were selected. But then you ask, all right, but which prompts am I supposed to analyze for, or sorry, optimize for? What are people actually looking for? How are they searching for my business? That's a big piece. That piece took me months to figure out. And essentially what we did, we built a tool that estimates prompt volume in the local country based on somebody's business. And the way this works, this is not public data yet, unfortunately. Actually, Bing Webmaster Tools, they came out a couple months ago with a tool that gives you some insight on prompts on Copilot that are associated with your website. But it's just like one small or one model, and it's kind of like very basic, and it's not full data. So what we do is the following. So essentially what we do is a mix of three things. One, we take real-time data. We buy data, real-time user prompts from user panels. Think like SimilarWeb, where you have like people who consented sharing their chats with AI. That's pretty good, but the problem is that we don't have a full coverage in terms of demographics and geographies. So that's just one data point. Another good data point is from the Google ecosystem. And this is something you can do yourself. Google, you have in the keyword planner in AdWords, you have search volume for Google keywords. Now, what's cool is that we are seeing now in data people actually writing prompts in Google because they know that AI overview is going to respond. So we can actually see prompt data on Google, and that's specific for Google search, but it gives you like an indication of what's happening out there. What are people actually looking for? So again, it's an indication. It gives you some kind of an idea. It's not accurate, but that's something that works pretty well. And then we found a bunch of models that were trained on the interactions between humans and older models. So these new models were trained on prompts. So they know what people prompted up to a few months ago. Outdated, but another pretty good data point. So we take all those together and we kind of mesh them. And then we go ahead and create a tool that will then let you discover what people are searching for related to your business and how much in the last couple of months, or you can set the time frame. So that's like a piece that's kind of I think it's a big piece that you probably want in part of your playbook. So what's your playbook? And I'll show you an example, a practical example, and after this. So first of all, we want to look at three pieces: our own content, the content that we create, put on our website, on our blog, on LinkedIn, our content. We want to look at third-party content that's being cited often and influencing the models, and we want to try to impact that. And we look at our general kind of like SEO and GEO fundamentals, kind of like our presence. And so that means that own content really is, first of all, identifying high volume prompts that are relevant to our business, and then finding out how models search the web to get data to respond to these prompts, and analyze the data sources that currently feed the models, and then create content that is optimized for the models based on those insights. So that's one thing that you can do. Second thing, you want to try to influence the third-party websites that are being often cited if you can, and I'll show you how we do that. And then the third thing is really to make sure that you have your technical SEO down, that you have fresh content, that you appear on different websites, that you have some kind of a entity with authority across the web. So let's jump into an example of how we put this into practice. Any questions before I jump in? Okay, cool. Hope it's all clear. And so All right. So what this is Spotlight. This is the dashboard that we built, and this is how we approach this. We go ahead first of all and help a brand find what prompts people are actually running that are related to their business, and we built a suite of tools that help you find prompt volume. So, for example, I'll show you this example. What we essentially do, we help you either take keywords that you're currently optimized for in SEO, and then convert them into prompts that people are searching for. We find prompts that have the same essence and intent in the local country in the last few months, and give you like the volume, so you can then choose what's relevant to your business and then and then optimize for them. Or we have a connection to the Google Search Console, where we then pull traffic. We pull keywords that brought in traffic to your website, and also prompts that brought traffic to your website, and then we learn from them what people are actually searching for and how they're searching for a business like yours. And we have a few more other tools that can help find prompt volume. And then once you have those prompts set up, we then take those prompts and we send them to all the models. And we do this every week to see who's showing up. So for example, we'll take this prompt here and we send this to ChatGPT, and then we see, okay, who's showing up in the response. So we have the full response from ChatGPT, and we can see which brands appeared. So in this case, 5 brands showed up in the response. Nespresso was the second one. So we see that second out of 5. That we analyze the sentiment around the mentioning of the brand. Here it was neutral, and we see all the data sources that were the basis of the response. And we'll see occasionally also how the model got its information. The search terms, the keywords that were used that the model used in order to get this data. So then we take that data, and then we see red or green, and was the brand mentioned or not. And then we have this kind of idea for every topic that we care about. We can add and remove topics, and then we can add and remove prompts. And then for every topic we care about, we then see what is the level of presence, and how many of the responses was my brand mentioned, and when it appeared, where did it appear within the response? So here, Nespresso was mentioned, appeared between the second and the third place on average. And what is the sentiment around the mentioning of the brand, and which other brands showed up? So we have this information for every topic that we care about, and then you can see this data for each one of the models that we're tracking, and we can also see this data in the eyes of competition or other brands. So, for example, this brand here, we can see how they are showing up in each one of the topics and each one of the models, and then we have other tools that show you, for example, for every customer journey stage. We classify the prompts by customer journey stages. And then we show you, for how are you showing up in each one of these customer journey stages, which brand's appearing in the consideration stage, in the decision stage, so you know where you're at in terms of the customer's journey. And then and there's a lot more data, but I'm going to jump into the more interesting part of actions. But I just want to give you you'll have a high level view that shows you for every model how you're showing up, what's the brand's performance in terms of appearance over time for each one of the models. And another cool thing that you can see is your reputation. So what we do here is we actually send questions about the brand. Now, the prompts that we saw until now were prompts that asked, where can I get the best coffee? And, questions generally about brands, not mentioning any brand. Here we ask specifically about our brand to understand, what do the models think about us? So if, for example, we ask a question about quality, we ask, how is espresso in terms of quality? We send this question to all the models, and then we get the models to respond. And then we have the system score that response and tell us, how are we doing? And then here we see that the models they're happy with the quality. So here you can monitor what your reputation is when people ask about your brand. And you can ask, I can ask more questions like this, and you can even tell the system what you consider a good or a bad response, so it knows how to score it. And then we have tools to help you manage this. Like, we can show you where all the data sources are, where are the models getting their information. For example, here we can see that Reddit is a huge source, and this specific URL here, it actually appeared in 5 of the responses, mostly when asking about quality. And then we can go out and try to engage in that conversation, try to improve our how we show up there, or we can see which of our own content is currently impacting the models when people ask different questions about different properties of our brand. So this is kind of like the brand reputation piece. But if I kind of jump back to high level, so you have kind of like your brand reputation, brand health, sentiment, kind of how you're showing up, and then we have these action items, and I'll talk about citations in just a moment. So the action items are really about our real focus in the tool. Besides monitoring, there's actually a bunch of monitoring tools out there on the market. We do monitoring really well, but I mean, we really focus on actions. So what we do here, we actually come out with, you have essentially like 3-4 courses of actions today that you can do that are effective. One is to create content. This is the best, and the 80% of what you want to do. You want to create content that will address the prompts that you want to show up in. So what happens here, the system goes and finds the prompts that have the highest volume, but you're not showing up for, and you have no citations for, and it'll go out then and it'll create content. So what it's going to do now is really intelligent. It's going to go and it's going to look at all the keywords that the models use to search for content to address this prompt. And it's going to look at all of the sources, the most cited sources that impacted the models, that influenced the models when they responded to this prompt. And now we're going to analyze these data sources and try to understand, what is it about them? Why were they selected by the models? And we're going to look at the content. We're going to look at their structure, how many words, letters, all the analysis that I showed you earlier. It's going to go and analyze everything about these websites. And it's going to come back with a list of content suggestions that are based on this analysis and that are optimized for the keywords that the models use to search. And it's going to come essentially with 2 types of lists. One list is content that is highly aligned with what's already cited today. Content that we know for sure is working because it's just working. So we're just going to copy from whatever works. And then we're going to have another list of ideas for content that nobody wrote about. Content that will add something new to the discussion. We're seeing models liking to sometimes choose content that nobody wrote about, and it can maybe add something to the response. So it's going to come back with these 2 types of content suggestions and a whole analysis of kind of like what the citations were. And then it's actually going to go out and upon your approval, it's going to go out and actually create the content for you. And this is content. Here, let's have a look here. So here it found articles, it found listicles, it analyzed everything, shows us kind of like, what are these, what were the citations? It kind of like, you can read about every citation, see all kinds of stats about them and click like analysis. And then it comes with these ideas. For example, let's write an article, or let's say, I'm gonna go ahead and write a listicle. So it's gonna go ahead and say, here, let's write one of these. Now, this is interesting. Look at this. 2024, 2025. We're in 2026. Now, why is this interesting? Because it saw that the models are actually searching 2024, 2025 in their keywords. No human would do that. If a human would put a year, putting this year, but humans don't type in the year. This is how the models actually searched. And this is counterintuitive. Then this piece, so let's go out and create this piece of content. Here we have the content creation tool, which takes that brief, it takes the title, it takes the keywords here. I found that this is the keyword that was actually used by one of the models. And then it's going to go out now, and you can add some brand information, tone of voice, all kinds of kind of like more parameters. And then it's going to go out and then create content that's optimized for the models. Now, this content is not for humans. It'll be good for humans. It's fine, but it's not. We don't really care if humans read this or not. It actually doesn't have to appear on your navigation in your blog. It just has to be on your website or somewhere indexed by Google. Once it's indexed by Google, it'll show up. Yes, I mean, if it is on your blog and if you have navigation to it, in terms of SEO, and you have higher chances of it actually appearing kind of more credible, but it's not critical. You can just have this somewhere on your domain, and we do this all the time. And since it's optimized for these certain keywords, it is very likely going to be picked up in Google and then picked up by the models. So here we have this piece of content that is really optimized for the models with all the things they look for, all the kind of citations and like the FAQ section and self-contained sentences and whatever it found that's working for the citations that it analyzed. And then we have this image generator, and this thing connects with your WordPress or LinkedIn. Soon we'll have some other CMSs, and you can just copy it. And so, but this really works. And how do we know this works? Not because I told you it works. It's because we track all citations. And let me show you this. This is the piece I wanted to show you earlier. What we do, we track to see every piece of content owned by the business, by the brand, how often was it cited by the models? And you can tell the system, where is your content? Is it in domains? Is it in certain URLs, wherever it is? It'll then track and see how often every piece of content was cited. For example, this piece of content here was cited 15 times in the report that ran 6 days ago. And if I click here, I can see exactly the prompts that cited that piece of content. So we know how well the content is performing. We track this. And then we're also connected to Google Search Console. We track indexing and AdWords and Cloudflare. We have all the data to see performance of content, if it's actually working, where it's going wrong, if it's going wrong. So this is really kind of what helps us close the loop. Then we have this other tool here. Sorry, we have this other, we have an integration also to Google Analytics, where you can actually see traffic coming in directly from the chatbots. Although, as I mentioned earlier, most people don't actually directly come from ChatGPT to your website. They'll read about a brand and then go to Google and search it. They're not going to actually click a citation typically, but the few that do will give you insight and also help. It's another data point that can be helpful. So this is like the citation tracking, where we can see, what is our share of citations, and to what extent is our content actually influencing the models. So I'm just gonna zoom out. I have 5 more minutes, so I'm gonna zoom out. And if anybody wants to stay after, you're more than welcome. But so high level. So right now, what we're doing, and we just connected Spotlight to MCP last week, and my mind exploded. It's crazy what you can do today with Claude Desktop or Cursor or Windsurf, whatever AI chatbot you're using, to connect to Spotlight, and then you can create prompts, topics, automate everything, automate you do customer reporting. You can automate the whole content creation, talk to it, ask questions about the data. It's incredible. And we're actually rethinking a lot of things, a lot of pieces in the tool to be totally automation, AI, and MCP kind of friendly. So you can really connect and integrate with your own tools, and you don't have to really actually barely go into the interface. And that's, it's just a whole new kind of a playing field. And what we're going towards and hopefully in the next month, we're going to start releasing features where this whole thing is automated for you, where content is created automatically for you. After you set up, your prompts, you set up kind of your information about your brand and all kinds of settings. It'll then create content and push it up to your blog if you like, or you can review it and approve it, or just auto publish it on your blog. We're going to do all kinds of offsite opportunities. Oh, sorry, to talk about actions, some other actions. Critical. Sorry, let's jump into this really quickly. Besides creating content, you have these other actions. Reddit, you can see all the Reddit posts that most affected the models. For example, this Reddit, it actually appeared in 15 different responses. So you really want to be on that Reddit. You want to make sure that Reddit talks positively about your brand. So you want to go there and try to engage with it, or you want to try to maybe pay somebody or give somebody a gift card in order to edit their comment or the post to mention your brand in a positive way. That's something we're playing with right now. We're experimenting with a few of our clients. And then we also have this tool here that shows you what were the most cited URLs. For example, this URL was cited 61 times or in 61 different responses, which is huge. So you definitely want to make sure that your brand appears here. And then you can find out, if you might have an opportunity to pay them to appear, do a niche edit, or maybe mention them in exchange for them mentioning you, or whatever arrangement it can be. We actually have a relationship with our direct competitors, where they mention us on other blog posts and we mention them on the blog posts. And so you kind of just trade mentions, and it works for both sides. So here you can find those opportunities, and you can also know what they're worth to you. How much is this actually worth to me? You have this actually number figure to give you an idea of how much of an effort should I put into getting myself mentioned on one of these websites. And then you have that data kind of on a domain level to see which domains are being most mentioned. So where do I actually want to put effort in terms of adding content, or maybe putting a guest post or something like that. And then a last action that's not here and we're working on right now is YouTube, that I mentioned earlier. YouTube is becoming a huge player. And what we're doing now, so YouTube specifically, the way that works, that the models, they don't see the YouTube videos. They see the title, the description, and they pull the transcript from YouTube's API. So it's the text that you should really care about. So we're now working on a tool that will create a transcript and the title and description with the information that we want to convey. And then it'll have like AI generate videos that again, it's just the audio that we care about. That will have like some kind of image there, some kind of visual. It doesn't really matter. And then it'll then give kind of it'll then be specifically it'll address a very niche prompt, very specific prompts. It'll be optimized for that, and then it'll affect the models through YouTube. Yeah, good, please. Yeah, this is actually a good time for questions because anyway we have 1 minute, but I can go over until the top of the hour. Yeah, I see that Gil asked a question. Well, I just lost that question. Oh, here it is. What KPIs do we use for measuring the ongoing performance? Wow. So okay, so that's everything is measured. So first of all, I mean, you can actually see all the data. So we have many places where we measure things. We have this timeline here that looks at different different KPIs. One is the presence. We want to see that the brand is showing up for topics and prompts that we care about. And here we can analyze and see us versus competitors per topic, per prompt, per journey stage, model, time range. We also want to optimize citation share, for example. So there's really the two main pieces that I like to look at. One is citation share to make sure that we are influencing the models, A, and B, that we're being actually mentioned in the responses. So those are like the two pieces the top pieces I like to look at. But then we have a lot of customers or users that are using this more for brand management, reputation management, and then they look more at maybe the sentiment, or they look at in the brand perception. They might want to look at and see, all right, how are we perceived in terms of quality over time. So then they have this graph where they can like see how they're actually showing up in terms of the models. So it really depends kind of like on your goals, but everything is measurable. That's the beauty of this. Pleasure. If there are any other questions, now would be a good time. Can I cover like the majority of it? I could talk about this for hours. I don't want to go on rambling. So so if there's no other questions, let me see this. I'll just show you a couple more bits if you're still around here. I'll just show you a couple more bits that would be kind of cool to see. One is kind of to see how models take prompts and convert them into search queries. So here we actually look at every prompt that we track, and we check to see how do the models actually search when they get this prompt, and it changes over time. For example, there were a few weeks where we saw ChatGPT asking for a specific domain. They would actually put in like site. Let's see if I have this here. No, not this example, but the ChatGPT would actually go out and, oh yeah, this one actually is. It would actually ask, this is actually Grok that's doing it. But we saw ChatGPT doing it for a while. It would ask for specific sites because we also saw that they started ranking domains internally and creating their own like index of which domains are more trustworthy and which are not. Which is interesting. We're tracking that. So here you can like learn and take these fan out queries and then and understand like how models are searching, and then also optimize content on these queries. We also have a tool that's kind of cool that shows you kind of like how your blog, kind of like the gap between your content today and where it should be in terms of GEO. I mean, do you have like the best practices? Nespresso is not a client of ours, so I'm just showing their demo as the data as a demo, and that's why also they will have sometimes like the content that's not optimized because we're not advising them or anything, or they're not using the tool. But we'll see here what this tool does essentially. Yeah. So for example, this content is not even on the sitemap, so it I don't even know how it's going to show up. So essentially what the tool does, it finds where you have gaps and what you want to fix in order to improve the chance of getting cited by the models. All kinds of content factors and technical factors. Looks at all kinds of factors. See if there's anything interesting. Last thing I might want to show you. So we just added Cloudflare last week. We add features like every week. We just added Cloudflare that will just show you how which AI bots are visiting your website and reading the pages. So you see which pages are being read by which of the models, which is pretty interesting. It's very highly correlated with these citations that we see. But still, we're getting some insight from this, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, I think I'll pause there. If there are any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I will thank you for attending and bearing my voice and my no voice. I'm gonna stop talking till the rest of the day. Hopefully, this will pass by tomorrow. So thank you all, and have a great rest of your day. Oh, there's a question here from Helen. Sorry. What is the price of the tool? If you're still with us, Helen, you are. So yeah, so Helen, I show you essentially, this is, so we have, it's essentially, this is built to be self-serve. We do have it like a service where we can help you with consultation or actually even implementation, but you can just do the self-serve. We have a couple different plans, kind of like the growth is 100 prompts tracked on 5 platforms. Then now we have the Pro that has 300 prompts on. You could split that up to like 3 domains or 3 countries, and it has like all the features. And then if you need something different, then you can just talk to us and you can like customize like a plan for your needs. If you're an agency by any chance, we have like special like arrangements with agencies to help them help their clients. Um, yeah, so then this, and you can just like just sign up, I mean, on your own and kind of like get started. Like 7 days, the first 7 days are for free anyway, so you can just get started, get a feel for it. Sure, pleasure. So again, thanks for coming, and have a great rest of your day.